Rosa Aygun, you are the founder of an awesome new app called Anqa.
Yes.
Very rarely do I download an app to see what it's about and end up actually using it, like as in paying money to use it. You have all the services that you can expect. So you have, of course, what's trending or what's hot. And you have animal healing, sound healing, breath work, alternative healing, which I assume is Reiki, for example. Kisses.
Oh, animals are just so amazing.
They're
really
incredible. I mean, you were talking earlier about the horse having kind of sniffed out almost your tumor.
There was one particular horse that I would ride, and every time I went to see him, he was so cute. He would like touch me in my stomach here and like nuzzle me.
Yeah.
And his eyes would almost glisten up like he's gonna cry. And you know, it was 3 months later I was diagnosed with a tumor in that area. And
oh my God.
Yeah.
There's no antidepressant, there's no Xanax, there's nothing that can replace that natural source of oxytocin that comes from your dog being the thing that is his entire world, you know?
I started traveling the world and I started trying anything and everything, from like Reiki to Theta to sound, you know, Tibetan bowls healing. I was like to my friend, what? Tibetan bowls? Like they're a ringer and it heals you? What? Are you serious? And my friend was like, just try it.
So I was going to say, are you feeling a bit nervous?
No.
Not at all?
No.
Because if you were, I was going to say there's this new app called Anqa where I can get you like a sound meditation or a healing that would calm you down that I came across in case you were feeling a bit nervous. But
oh, wow.
You probably know about it because you're the founder. So normally we do like a little cheers, even though it's not an alcoholic beverage. Cheers. Yamas. Thank you for coming.
Şerefe, we say in Turkish.
You know, I am a quarter Turkish. I'm actually half Turkish according to my... by the way, you want to bring the mic like a fist away from your face. And then you can move it like that. Yeah, there you go. And a bit further away. There you go. That's the right location. Yeah, so I am half Turkish, believe it or not. Because my grandmother, from my mother's side, is Armenian. And she used to live in Turkey before...
Yeah, unfortunately.
So when I did my... there was like a bio DNA test. It turns out that I'm half European, which meant Turkish, and half Arab. So I'm not, even though I am as Arab as it gets, I am apparently, according to DNA test, half Turkish.
Well, so we can be brothers and sisters.
I guess so. But you are half Turkish and you're half Turkish, half Australian?
So actually, I'm born and raised in Australia, second generation, but my father's roots are from Turkey as well. However, he's the biggest Aussie you can, know. He, at the age of 19, he went to Turkey for the first time, fell in love with mum. And at that time, grandfather was trying to marry him to someone in the village, still old school. The Turks went to Australia and they held on to all these cultural traditions, but the people in Turkey have modernized and changed the way they think about things.
Right.
And so my dad went there just to have fun, with his friends. And then he fell in love with my mum. And then it turns out that my mum was the same woman that my grandfather's mum, my great grandmother, was trying to tell my grandfather to set my dad up with my mum. They were neighbors.
Also known as an arranged marriage.
Yes, that. It was supposed to be an arranged marriage. My dad fell in love with my mum, and then it turned out to be the same woman.
Yeah.
So even though he was like, no, I'm not gonna meet someone that I don't know. Like, I don't believe in that. And then he sees my mum, falls in love. And then she turns out to be from the same family because they were like 4 daughters.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it turned out for them.
Very cool. Well, you definitely look more Australian than Turkish.
I get that a lot. But, people from Turkey, from Izmir, are blonde or fair with blue eyes or colored eyes. There's actually a joke in Turkey.
Yeah.
Which, me being very naive when I lived there for a year and a half in Istanbul. And every time I got into a taxi...
Istiklal Street?
Sorry?
Istiklal Street?
No. Oh my God, I'll die there.
I like it, but anyway, go on. Tell me about.
It's beautiful, but I lived in Nishantasi. Have you been there?
I've been to Istanbul and Istiklal, but not that area, no.
Yeah, Nishantasi is beautiful. It's like the shopping capital, and most people speak English there. I'm sure you've other parts in Istanbul, unless they're touristic, people don't really speak English very well.
Yeah.
And it's more modern, it's like more artistic. I think Cihangir and Nishantasi are the areas that most expats want to live in. And every time I got into a taxi, the taxi driver would say to me, "Are you from Izmir?" And then I would say, "Yes." Like, how does he know I'm from Izmir? It's so weird. One day I went to my cousin and, she lives in Istanbul. She's from Izmir, like my auntie's daughter. And I was like, it's so weird. Every time I get into a taxi driver, they know that I'm from Izmir.
Uh-huh.
And she's like, oh, they're just being sleazebags. And I'm like, what? How is that being a sleazebag?
I like women from Izmir known to be beautiful?
Yeah.
Okay,
So apparently if somebody says, are you from Izmir? It means they're actually saying you're beautiful, you're gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's a very common thing in Turkey. So
Gotcha.
If you're ever hitting on a Turkish woman or a woman in Turkey, you say to her, are you from Izmir?
I had a small love story back in 2008 in Turkey, but that's such a long time ago. So and it ended up badly, not like from a relationship perspective, but how do I put this in the most non-suicidal terms?
It's okay.
I got in some trouble with the police. Let's put it this way: I got in some trouble with the police. That was 20 years ago, so. But here we are.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, thank God. Let me start with the proper introduction. So, Rosa Aygun, is this the right? Aygun. Rosa Aygun. You are the founder of an awesome new app called Anqa.
Yes.
I discovered Anqa. I was chatting with one of my friends who's kind of a yogi, spiritual healer, coach, combination of those things, who's in Bali. And I found out about your app from him. He was staying with me for a while, and now he's found his own place. And so I downloaded your app because I'm an entrepreneur myself. Mm-hmm. And I've been thinking about doing something in the coaching space anyway for a few years. And he's like, check out Anqa. And I was like, all right. I downloaded the app, and very rarely do I download an app to see what it's about and end up actually using it. Like, as in paying money to use it, which was like... my first thought was, whoever the founder is behind this seems to have done such a good job, because the UI UX for an MVP, which is kind of where it is right now, is very clean and user friendly. Yeah, sure, there are some fixes here and there, but that's expected. But more importantly, I've loved what the app is trying to do. So I'll let you explain it in your own words, but the way I understood it is that it's a marketplace between a bunch of freelance wellness service providers, presumably from all around the world eventually, but I think at this point you're focused on Dubai and maybe Turkey. Are these the two locations?
Actually, the MVP was about testing it here, and then in last year when we were in Turkey, so we founded Anqa. Long story short, I went on a very long journey. Not long story short, but it was I was in corporate for many years in consulting, and then when I left, I went on a healing journey, right? And that was in 2019. I quit my job with Altaya Group. I was heading the retail for merchandise planning for beauty for Bloomingdale's, Harvard Nichols, and launching Unas. So it was a dream job for me. Like, I left Australia, grew up with a bunch of boys, first girl in the family, trying to prove to a bunch of Turkish people that I can do it on my own. First generation of that I broke free. Like, believe it or not, I had curfews to be at home at 10 p.m. And
I believe it.
So even in Australia, so when I never believed in, so Anqa means phoenix, so Alanka, right? So it's about, and the phoenix is there's many different symbolizations of what it represents, but it's a bird that constantly is reborn from its own ashes, right? So every time you think it's going to die, it actually is reborn from its own ashes. And it has this direct correlation of what we go through as humans when we think we're dying, when we're going through a breakup, or we're burnt out at work, or we lost somebody we love, or we just feel empty and we don't know why, or we have an addiction that we think we can't get out of. And when you push through that, when even at times that you feel like you can't, you're reborn, right? Reborn as a better, stronger, wiser, hopefully more enlightened version of yourself. And this is how my journey began with Anqa. Actually, it was, I was a workaholic, and I suffered severe insomnia. And for me, work was everything. And, climbing the corporate ladder, the rat race that we call it, stuck in that matrix.
The hedonic treadmill.
Yep. Been there, and you don't know that you're in there. It's just, and for me, it was, I used to go riding. So that was my only, I couldn't meditate. I didn't even know of what meditation. I couldn't do it. Like, I was just too analytical. I was like, how do people sit here for hours? Like, the moment I sit down, I see numbers, or, I need to do that report. And, I was never able to meditate. However, what happened was that, like, my only way to disconnect from the world, from everything, from work, was when I was on a horse. And it was just something about their energy, right? And there was one particular horse that I would ride, and every time I went to see him, he was so cute. He would like touch me in my stomach here and like nuzzle me.
Yeah.
And his eyes would almost glisten up like he's gonna cry. And the groom would say to me, "Oh, madame, he's so cute. He does this with you only." And I was like, "Really? He does this with me only? That's cute." And it was 3 months later, I was diagnosed with a tumor in that area. And
oh my God.
Yeah. And I think at that point in my life, I was at the peak in my career. Like, every girl's dream job is to be working with brands like Chanel and Dior and strategizing with them, and I was already feeling empty. Like, I was doing this job and I was feeling empty. But then when that diagnosis came through, and the doctors in Dubai, they start you off at the worst case. Like, my mum had a hysterectomy. My grandma passed away from cancer. My cousin at the time was battling third stage ovarian cancer. So obviously they start you off at the worst case scenario. And they were like, "Do you want to freeze your eggs? Do you want to have kids? And I was just like, I was single at that time. Like, what? Do I want to have kids? Do I want to freeze my eggs? What if I meet someone and they want to have kids?" And and so you end up thinking about things that you've never thought about before, and you start to think about life, your life. And I went to a doctor in Turkey because just to get a 10th opinion. And she was the first person who said to me, "You must live a very stressful life." And I was like, "No, like, I love being on the go. It gives me energy. It's when I stop, I feel anxious or I feel weird that I'm not doing enough, right?" And she said, "But that's the mind. Have you ever asked your organs?"
Your gut, your heart.
Yes, exactly. And I was like, "Huh? Like, what do you mean, ask my organs?" She's like, "Have you ever spoken to your organs?" And like, imagine a doctor telling you this.
In Turkey.
In Turkey. Like, say what? What do you mean? Like, speak to my organs. Hey guys, what's happening there?
I still haven't figured that part out, but go on. Yeah.
And I did. And I love to tell you what happened. And so what happened was that she said, "Yeah, but that's the mind. Do you meditate?" And I said, "No, I can't because I'm too analytical." But she's like, "But that's why you need to try harder. Meditation is not about not thinking about nothing, right? It's about being in that state for yourself." And, she says, and is focusing on your breath. Yes, thoughts are going to come and go, but by time, it's just going to get better. And then she asked me about my lifestyle here, and then obviously Dubai, like you're constantly drinking, partying, working.
Rinse and repeat. And repeat.
Exactly. And I think you don't understand how time flies in Dubai because there's always something, right? At the same time, you feel like you're on vacation because the weather's always nice. I mean, besides the months that you go to Europe, which is like, 3 months of the year, right? So, for me, she kind of said to me, like, what's the worst that can happen if you change your lifestyle?
Yeah.
I was on the contraceptive pill over 10 years. I was eating unhealthy, drinking late, like not exercising regularly. And I grew up in a country where I was an athlete, very healthy. Sports was part of my life. My dad was an Olympic wrestler, so like it was very much ingrained since I was a kid. Like I did swimming in the under squad Olympics, played for the Australian girls football team. So coming here and working, I lost that. I lost that. So then she said to me, "Okay, what's the worst that can happen if you quit your job and you do the things that you love?" And I said, "Well, if I'm going to die in a year's time, I've got nothing to lose, really."
Because of the tumor.
Yeah, like at that point, obviously we didn't know how, it was 5 centimeters, and they because of my genetics.
Ask where it was?
It was in my ovary.
Okay.
My left ovary.
Ovarian. Yeah.
Where the horse was touching.
Oh my God.
Right? And even at that point, I still didn't connect the two.
Yeah.
Right? And then she said, "What is it that you love doing the most? And like when you were a child, or what is it something that brings you the most joy?" And I said, "Oh, horses." She said, "Horses are extremely intuitive beings and they're very sensitive." And I was like, "Oh my God, doctor, this horse would do this to me." She was like, "Yes.
There you go.
He's probably trying to tell you, but we're just too oblivious. Like we're wearing these shutters and we can't see, we can't feel anymore. We're just stuck."
The one other experience I've ever heard of, kisses.
Oh, animals are just so amazing.
They're
really
incredible. I mean, you were talking earlier about the horse having kind of sniffed out almost your tumor and indicated to you that there's something there, which is remarkable. The animal intelligence. The only other example I know of, which I've only found out about through social media, is when some service dogs are able to kind of sniff if their owner has a low blood sugar, so they can indicate to them that they need to eat sugar or have insulin or whatever it is, that depending on their sugar level. So
even cancer, there's some that certain cancers that they can smell.
Well, in your case, right? I mean, the tumor.
Yeah. So some dogs. There's different illnesses now that dogs are now trained to be able to sniff.
Yeah.
But that's definitely one of them. And, with the horses, that's how it kind of stuck with me. It was like, wow, like how did this horse know? And I was just so curious because everything just kind of made sense. And that at that moment, I decided to quit my job. And obviously focus on myself.
Fatim, was it?
It was Altaya Group.
Altaya Group, okay, yeah.
And I did a horse guide and empowerment diploma, like equine therapy.
What guidance? Sorry?
It's called horse guide and empowerment, which is a form of equine therapy.
Okay.
And where we use horses in herds roaming free as therapy.
Wow.
Where they mirror to us the emotions and things that we're feeling, and we do exercises, and we work with the children. I worked with children with autism with them, and it was just incredible because like I would have sometimes parents come that tell me that their child's been in therapy for many years, and that one session with the horses was like a year in therapy. And I didn't have the answers for that. They didn't have the answers for that. It was just the horses.
So can you take me through, like, describe to me, how does a session with the horses and autistic kids, for example, what goes on there and what it indicates? Can you just walk me through like one of those examples?
Well, it depends what level of autism they're at. You know, some of them it's about more associating activities like grooming the horse. So when they feel like they're taking care of the horse and they're around the horses, they become more engaged because, you know, it's very hard to keep their focus, right?
Sure.
So like, you know, when you give them a lead rope and you say, walk with the horse, and then they see that the horse is walking with them, you know, versus a dog that's much smaller than them, right? When they see a horse twice their size, they feel some sort of like synchronicity in that. And
they're more engaged, more responsible.
More, exactly.
Yeah.
And I know it's just very simple things, actually. It's not rocket science.
And they're able to take that after that session into their own lives, basically.
Yes, exactly.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, it really is. It's just like really simple things. And sometimes like we depending on what level they are, we let them ride the horse as well. And when they see that they can turn the horse and the horse turns, wow, like, you know, like they get really excited. Because it's an animal. It's not a car, you know what I mean?
It's like a real life, like a sentient like being that is reactive and kind and all those things. This dog's in love with you, by the way. The way he's looking at you.
Oh, my God. Baby. I love you too. Yeah. I love you too. I mean, like, we're just so blessed that.
Yeah, thank God for dogs.
Animals in general. Like, it's just like, they're just so beautiful and they have unconditional love.
Yeah.
And, you know, they don't judge. They don't care about your weight or, you know, your beliefs or political views or anything. Like, they're just so beautiful.
He's half of my life. I mean, like people, and I tell people like, that's not the right necessarily measure of how much you love your dog, but like even how much money I spend on his daycare, transportation to his daycare, his food, treats, toys, traveling twice a year. It's like he means the world to me. And I sometimes, because he's 5 years old now, so he's got another 6-7 years left based on the average lifetime of a chocolate Labrador. I know, me too. And it's like, if I think of what a day is like without Vito coming to wake me up, licking me in my face, to like tell me, come on, let's go for a walk, you know, my days are like, I need to find... There's no antidepressant, there's no Xanax, there's nothing that can replace that natural source of oxytocin that comes from your dog being the thing that is his entire world, you know. And but that's animals aside. I want to go back to Anqa. Anqa is a great app. Anqa, let me do something here that I
yes, sorry, this is my first podcast, so it's like, woo, I need to come back.
Is it actually your first? Because I think I've seen you on a mic.
That was my friend, yeah. We were just doing something. I mean, this is my second podcast, but that was like my first trial one with a friend who's just starting out as well. And we just...
So we're going to do something pretty cool today that, I don't know, this is not only your first podcast, but it's going to be probably the first time that I do what I'm about to do in my new studio, which is to pull up your app on my phone. Because this infomercial of Anqa is costing you 5 Bitcoin.
God, I wish I had 5 Bitcoin.
But because you are a Jumeirah Heights neighbor, so I'm only going to take 2 Bitcoin from you, which is measly $120,000.
So generous. Isn't he so sweet?
No,
but how about if I take Vito for walks?
Yeah, you're gonna have to take him for like walks for the rest of his life.
Then do I get 1 Bitcoin
as well?
Yeah,
but you want to walk him and take a Bitcoin?
At him.
I'll tell you something. I'd love nothing more than to actually discover business founders, owners. Like I was telling you earlier about Raw Coffee, Matt Toogood, who's he's from New Zealand, so close by to your home country. And only when I loved his coffee and their entire team and their process, I invited him. He honored me by showing up on I think it must have been episode 5 or 6 of my podcast. And then a few other entrepreneurs, kind of knocked my door, said, hey, can we come on your podcast? And I like their apps, I like their companies. And of course, I was very happy to have them on. But in your case, similar to what happened with Matt, I discovered you. You didn't discover me. And I loved your app so much that I was like, I really want to just basically.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so we're gonna do something here.
Did you see that, Udo?
Excuse me. So this is we're gonna unfortunately be unable to record it. So we're gonna do screenshots. And I'm gonna ask my editor, the wonderful Grace, to try to synchronize this afterwards. But this is the homepage for Anqa. Let's take a screenshot so you can show it later. And so for those who are going to be watching this on YouTube or on Spotify, as opposed to listening, it's a great app. It's on it's available on the Apple Store and also on Google.
Yeah.
And it's similar to what you would expect on, I would say, Airbnb. You have all the services that you can expect. So you have, of course, what's trending or what's hot. Then you have animal healing, which is, we were talking earlier about your horse.
That's Phoenix there.
That's Phoenix over there. You have yoga. You have meditation. We're not going to go through them, all of them, but basically sound healing, breath work, alternative healing, which I assume is Reiki, for example, is in there.
Yeah,
perhaps.
and then I'll skip that one, but then alternative coaching and intuitive
reading. I do have my love-hate relationship with this one. We'll come back to it in a second.
Intuitive healing?
Yeah, intuitive reading. And I mean, look, I'll give you my opinion on this entire industry in a second. I have a love-hate relationship with the overall wellness industry. It has been shifting.
Don't we all? That's why I started Anqa.
Yeah, and that's why I kind of like Anqa, because it is helping me move more towards love than hate when I feel, in terms of how I feel about this industry, because we'll get there in a second. But clearly there's a bunch of services that you have in there. And so, for example, if you go to yoga, which is the most recent booking that I've made, you'll have a bunch of people here that provide different types of yoga. And then if you go to booking, screenshot, I have booked a session of vinyasa yoga with
Sanaz.
With Sanaz Nazari. This is happening at 3 p.m. on, what is the date? Let's see.
24th of March.
There it is. Yeah, 24th of March, 3 p.m. Me and Sanaz. Me and Sanaz are having a yoga session, which is the second session I'm booking on Anqa. The first session I booked, which has been completed, has been with Omar, screenshot again, who came over with his lovely girlfriend. Her name is Georgia, Greek. Funny story, by the way. The handpan that you see over here is a gift from my ex, who's the love of my life, Georgia, who is also Greek. So Omar, who is half Turkish, and I think he lived in the Netherlands, half Egyptian, half Turkish, lived in the Netherlands. He showed up with his Greek girlfriend, Georgia.
Yeah, wow.
And what are the chances that my Greek ex-girlfriend, Georgia, got me the handpan? It's like, wow, what's going on here? Anyway, he kind of showed me the ropes. And since then, I've been like, dabbling around and practicing. And I'm just trying to show those who are watching this episode just how clean your app is. By the way, it's not easy for anybody who hasn't designed or tried to launch an app before.
I mean, for me, it's I'm crazy, but like I look at it, it's like we designed like 452 screens, and I had to cut down on so many of them just to launch. And to me, there's a saying that if you're not embarrassed of your first product, you're too late. And to me, I'm not happy with this, actually.
You never are. If you are a high work ethic entrepreneur, as most entrepreneurs are, you're always looking to see.
Like, how it's loading now? It's driving me crazy.
But you know what? I can't tell you how great this app is for an MVP. Like, trust me, most other apps are so much more buggier.
Like, my heart's just like, oh God.
Yeah.
And obviously, like,
I'm just taking screenshots to show them later on in the edited version. Yeah.
No, I don't. Look, many people are telling me that it's amazing for the first iteration, especially. And but in the next builds, you'll be able to give reviews as well. review and ratings.
Yeah.
So Omar will review you and you will review him. So like Airbnb.
Like an Upwork.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And going back to this love-hate relationship with wellness, and especially the word spirituality, I would say is...
The word what?
The spiritual practices, spirituality. I would say that when I left my job, one of the things was I was so desperate at that point, right? And to heal myself or to ask myself questions like, why did I come to Earth? What's my mission on Earth? What is my purpose? And I think that question, especially what is my purpose, is, you know, if I came here to live and I didn't achieve anything for the world or made it a better place, or, you know, and I die.
And I just consume.
What's the point of living? So it just occurred to me like, oh no, like if I don't have much time left on this planet, what am I going to do? And then I went into this whole thing about, you know, healing myself or finding, and like I was never into esoteric things, the woo-woo stuff. I was always, I never judge my friends or anything, and I'm the crazy friend that goes and tries anything.
I say esoteric means what?
Esoteric is like, you know, human like astrology readings,
human
or
design?
Like like I mean, some people have different meanings, but it's pretty much anything that's not really science backed.
Thank you so much for saying that, because that's a big reason of my love-hate relationship with the wellness industry.
Yeah, I mean, look, it is it's about belief, right? There's certain things that, for me, being an analytical person who's always wanted to understand things that was backed by science or that I can tangibly feel or see, obviously I always had faith of God, and, you know, being raised in a Muslim family of Allah, then that's separate. But one of the toughest things for me was when it came to esoteric things like Reiki or, you know, certain aspects of
pseudosciences.
These things was more so like, in Islam, there's like shirk. Like if you believe in another God, if there's no God, you're going to go,
doubt.
You're going to go to hell pretty much. I mean, you know, it's conditioning from the elders. And for me, it was just stuck there, you know. And but at that point, when I think I'm going to die, I was like, even though like they did, the doctor that I spoke to in Turkey was like, let's not overreact, makes a lifestyle change, we'll monitor it, we'll do a biopsy, and then we'll make decisions accordingly to that, right? So she was just like, you know, just eat healthy, clean, alkaline, free diet. And I stopped taking anything that was not natural, pills, like anything that wasn't good for me, like raw foods, and exercising. And then I started traveling the world, and I started trying anything and everything, from like Reiki to Theta to sound, you know, Tibetan bowls healing. I was like to my friend, what? Tibetan bowls? Like they're a ringer and it heals you? What? Are you serious? And my friend was like, just try it. And I love music. Like I love, you know, I love techno. I feel like music is just like, you know, it can take me to a completely different space. And I was like, let me try this. And it was the first time in my life that I felt like this sensation of floating. Right?
With the Tibetan bowls.
Yeah. And I was like, literally like energy, like my body. And I felt like I was lifting. And it, you know, when you feel these things and people speak about it, but when you actually experience it, you're like, wow, there's something there. And the reason why my friend recommended it was because I was suffering from insomnia. I couldn't sleep. And that night, I slept like a baby. And that's when I went and did more research, because now my mind wants to understand, how did that work? And, you know, we're all made up of atoms and, you know, neutrons and electrons. And this is a fact. We know this. And we're 70% or so water. And when there's different bowls that give different frequencies, right? Alpha, beta, delta, and they have the different chakras as well. And it resonates with different frequencies with your body. So a really good sound therapist would be able to play a bowl and listen to what sound
frequency
of the sound that goes through your body.
Sure, yeah.
And then is able to, and that's when I was like, whoa, there's actually some science behind this. When you think about it, it's just that no one's really educated, and that's how my journey of all of the exploration of all of this began. I tell my friends I turned into like a healing whore, like anything, plant medicine, like I did pretty much everything. And that's when I also realized how much scamming was happening. The spiritual scamming, the
deliberate or undeliberate, by the way, because a lot of times some of those healers, they think or believe and truly want to help, and they do they perform a certain modality, thinking that modality works. And I'm not here to say it works or doesn't work, but we can at least assume that it's probably bullshit. And if it works, it's only because of placebo. And placebo is there for, I mean, there is a reason why if a fortune teller or if a human design reader tells you a certain thing that aligns with what you want to believe, you end up living that path. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. That's kind of a little bit of placebo in some way. So there's no doubt that when we talk about scams, first of all, there are real bullshitters out there, like fortune tellers that will sit there knowing that they're bullshitting you and take your money and tell you a little bit about your future in a way that makes you happy and take your money and send you off. And then there are others who perhaps believe they are connected somehow to being able to tell your future through tarot cards or angel cards or numerology or whatever it might be. So, this is coming from a guy, by the way, who has a sister and a mother and a ton of friends who all of them I love dearly and who have all done great improvements to their lives through these modalities. So who am I to say that it's bullshit when the results have been nothing but consistently great? So the only conclusion that I have managed to arrive at is that placebo exists, and we know that from the pharma industry. Like, you give a pill of sugar or an injection of water or something, and there's nothing in it that is supposed to heal your disease, but you will heal because you believe that there's medicine in that placebo, right? So placebo exists, and in the same way that it exists in the pharma industry, then why wouldn't it exist in the energy spiritual space as well? And if it works, then why not, right? At the end of the day, people want to improve, whether it's because there is a real chemical reaction happening there from a medicine that you've taken or an ayahuasca that you have consumed that perhaps connected you to something higher than you. Doesn't matter. Did your life improve after some session or not? Yes, then good. Do more of it, right? The problem then becomes that those that exploit or contaminate or scam, whether deliberately or undeliberately, they make it. They throw a bad. They actually give a bad rap to the entire industry. I gave an example in my last episode with this lady called Yasmin. She's a lovely girl, classmate, a high school mate, about how one time I, upon the advice of my sister, I sat down with a spiritual healer who did all sorts of theta healing, Reiki, scanning my energies. I can't even remember what it was, a ton of different things. And I went there with benefit of the doubt, but also like skeptical. So, but I went with it anyway. But where she really lost me, and I was like, okay, I'm getting out of here. Like this is, take your money and let me get out of here. Was when she made me stand on one foot, and try to balance on one foot. And I think I must have been asking her, like, I'm so ambivalent about whether I should stay in my relationship with my ex at the time. Do I break up with her or do I stay with her? Yes or no? And she made me stand on one foot. And if I tilted right, it was like break up with her. Tilt left means stay with her. And like, flat feet, ingrown toenails, like whatever the hell might have, like there's no way you can reduce an answer that important in life to where your body tilts and then explain it afterwards by saying, well, hey, you grew an ingrown toenail that happens to be in your right toe, and that's why you tilted left, because all of it is related actually to, they start finding all these retroactive explanations and it's kind of like it sort of puts a wrench into everything else that could actually be true and worth your attention. And that's why I have this love-hate relationship with this industry. It's because some of it could be true, some of it is science-based, quantum hypnotherapy, whatever. Like, there's some science to it. Maybe it's not entirely scientific, but there's some science basis to it. It's helpful, it's not. But then a ton of people will contaminate it. And this is, by the way, not just in the spirituality and the energy space, but in medicine, in psychiatry, in like operations, in surgery. Like, bullshit exists, and bullshit will make the entire industry look bad. And that's why I like curation. I like some sort of like, and one of my questions to you was going to be on Anqa. Where do you call bullshit when somebody comes and signs up and says, I want to be an Ankit? Ankite. What sort of vetting do you do so that you can reduce the level of bullshit that they may bring to the world in whatever service they provide?
Yeah, that's a beautiful question, because like we've all been there, and like even me, when I was so desperate to heal myself, anybody that told me anything, Reiki or whatever, it's almost like they're like vultures. They see you attend an event for spirituality and they observe you and they're like, oh, your heart chakra's blocked and that. And it's happened to me where I went to this lady and she did the same thing. Oh, okay, 500 dirhams. Oh, but you need 10 sessions, and without 10 sessions.
Can't do much with that 10 sessions. It has to be 10 sessions.
And then you're like, okay, so, and then after the 10 sessions, oh, but your traumas are very deep and this and that. And you're just like, okay, where does this end? And like for me, it was when I started traveling the world and the people who changed my life. So I don't think anyone can heal you but yourself. I truly believe that from my journey specifically. And it's all about who holds your hand on the journey, who guides you back to yourself, right? And for me, the people that I couldn't find on Instagram or Google or YouTube or the ones that came word of mouth when I was in Bali or traveling the world are the ones that really changed my life. And they don't do it for money. They don't do it for fame, these people, and they genuinely want to help more people on a collective level, and they don't know how. And it was actually one of my retreats that's like my last day where Anqa was shown to me, like it was channeled to me. So like, I sometimes I feel like, this third dimensional materialistic world we live in. Yeah, I'm the founder, but I feel like I'm just a light worker, one of the light workers, and making Anqa happen. And whoever feels that there's this alignment with Anqa is part of them, and that at that point onwards, like it was almost like shown to me that we live in a world of technology and how we've been separated, and something new for the new earth needs to happen to bring people together. And that's when I was like, whoa, now I know what my mission on earth is. And that's how I started. And it's a great question. How do we vet them? Like, there's two examples I can give you. There's somebody who, is a elderly lady who does Reiki, and it's passed on from generation to generation. She's never done a certification in her life, but she's amazing. Everybody says she's amazing, right? So we want to help onboard people like that, to empower them, the ones that don't know how to market themselves. They don't know, they shouldn't be thinking about, what should I post on Instagram every day, And that's Anqa wants to take care of all that, like the booking, the payment, all of that mess for them, so they can focus on doing what they're good at. And then of course there's the other side as well. It's like, these days, like it's so easy to get a certification. You go on Udemy, or people go and do a retreat and then they call themselves a coach. So it's more about referrals, first of all. Like, so we have a vetting process on the app. So everybody that comes on is a seeker. So you're a seeker, like Airbnb, you're a traveler, and you can apply to become a host. With us is you're a seeker of services for body, mind, or soul. And then you can apply to be an Anqa. And then they have to go through an ID verification process. They have to provide their ID. We need to make sure that they're real. They need to give us their Instagram handles, and then we interview them. And sometimes we do like
that's probably the most important step, right?
The interview. And besides that, we do our like you know how you have mystery shoppers in retailers.
Yeah,
we do that with them as well.
So you send out customers just to kind of vet them.
Exactly.
Right.
I think you're going to be a great one.
Myself.
Yeah, one day. So
I'm a real customer. I'm not a mystery shopper, and I can give you feedback as genuine as it comes. Right?
No, so what we do is we ask community members.
Oh, okay.
From the community, and
I'd be happy to.
And they experience it themselves, genuinely experience it themselves. Not in a way where they're judging them. We just want the genuine feedback, right? And that's been very important to us. And one of the things that's happening a lot since we started Anqa is that we are getting random calls from more so women, I would say, that are warning me or recommending me not to have certain people on the application.
Because?
Like, there's a few names that are circulating, and one guy that does Reiki apparently asks ladies to take their clothes off.
Oh shit!
And
some women might find themselves vulnerable.
Yeah,
believing,
exactly,
manipulated into it.
So, like, one lady was crying to me because it was her first session, and when she told her friend what happened, and her friend said, "That's not supposed to happen." So apparently, he was like, "Oh, you need to take, like, for me to be able to really penetrate your energy and like properly, like, it's better if you take your clothes off." And she felt uncomfortable. And then apparently he said, like, when you go to a doctor for a checkup,
wow,
do you feel this way? This is my profession.
That's
and then
like
she
maximum manipulation.
Yeah, and then she felt really, really, embarrassed. She felt embarrassed that she was questioning his, job, and then she was tense the whole treatment.
So she went through with it.
Yeah, she did.
Oh my God.
And then she was too ashamed to even, because she was in a relationship, she was too ashamed to tell her partner.
Oh, no.
She told her friend, and then her friend was like, "What? Like, this is not what is supposed to happen in Reiki." So, like, it also gives us the opportunity, like, in the later editions, the features, before the booking, we would have notifications. If any of these questions get asked, report it to us.
Yeah.
Do not take your clothes off.
Yeah.
Do not do that. And obviously, some of the things that are really coming up is like this tantra as well. Like, neo tantra that's coming up. And like, so when we vet any of the tantra masseuses and all that, we make sure that none of, no penetration, nothing is allowed. Like, this cannot happen on with Anqa.
I mean, Tantra is just such a murky space altogether, because where do you really draw the line? I don't know much about it, but from my friend who's into it, there's a little bit of intimacy that is part of it in an acceptable way. Consent, of course, it goes without saying, is part of it. But then, yeah, I can totally understand how some people can take advantage of it.
Like, if you go back to the core of Tantra, it's actually not physical.
Yeah.
It's all your senses. It's about touch. It's about smell. It's about, all of the elements where, you're not actually physically being, it's about smelling something beautiful and, being present, just looking in the eyes.
It just has the fertile soil for being exploited, and
it is being exploited.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it really is. So that's why, like, we feel blessed, because we really want to create this new governance system for wellness through Anqa. And, in both ways, like, I know that people are like, how are you going to manage it? Like, we can vet somebody, and we're human at the end of the day. Maybe they have a bad day and they'll do something wrong, right? It can happen as well. Like, how do we manage that? But at least now, like, somebody can report them and we can have proof to give to the police or ban them. Now nothing exists. They're just getting away with it blindly.
Yeah, and that's the thing about, like, think about totally different and a far more regulated space like medicine, right? I had 3 shoulder surgeries. I've been prescribed opioids for painkillers, which were super fun, and I got hooked on them for a while. And even without the opioids, just the surgery alone, was it necessary? I mean, the doctor said it was. I took his word for it, and he's licensed, so it's kind of like you gotta triangulate the laws and the regulations that exist in order to make sure that services provided are safe. Then there's a little bit of like wisdom, judgment that you expect adults to have intuitively based on experience from what they know. And then there's also the credibility that is mutually exclusive to those other two. And that comes with positive references from different people, perhaps other customers. You mentioned you're going to add that into your app at one point. And I think even then, with all those 3 in place, even then, you'll be lucky if you end up finding yourself in the safe hands of a healer, service provider that's going to affect your wellness physically, mentally, spiritually. Because even think about doctors. They have to do this oath of being ethical and not to. I'm not a doctor myself, but I understand doctors need to do an oath before they become doctors to promise that they only act in the service of people. But then these are the same doctors that their business and their livelihood depends on how many prescriptions they write.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's an there's a paradox there.
Yeah.
Like, how am I going to make a living if I don't keep prescribing the Xanax or the Zoloft or whatever the fuck it is? But at the same time, I've made an oath to not, So I think it comes down to individual judgment. But that's why, remember I said earlier, love-hate relationship with the wellness industry is because, like everything else, there's a mix of like contaminated scam artists, all this like negative stuff. Then you have positive, curated platforms like Anqa, where there's a certain degree of vetting going on, certainly a high level of degree, especially if you're doing interviews and you're not just like letting anybody sign up and you're doing all these questionnaires. When you add the reviews as well. But also, I think the experience itself, you try once, you try twice, and then if the first 1 or 2 experiences you've had from one platform have been positive, then you'll trust the third and the fourth. Kind of like Upwork and Airbnb and other marketplaces. The reason I use Airbnb until today is because my first 2 experiences were good.
Yeah.
Different tenants, different countries, but there was a certain level of centralized control and governance that made me trust if I book again through Airbnb, there are controls in place that allow me to report if something looks sketchy, what to expect from a super host on Airbnb, which maybe one day you can have like a super healer, super, unkite. And that's why I love it so much. And I really think, to your point earlier about like, what's this all about? Making money, doing something useful in life. I know you never ask a lady her age, but fortunately you look very young and beautiful. But how old are you?
I'm 36.
You're 36.
Yeah.
So I'm 39. And I think this is this age where we, especially those of us who lived in Dubai and have done well for themselves, relatively speaking, we get to this point in our lives where the number one priority that we start to think about, and I'm talking about myself, but maybe it relates to what you went through, is doing something meaningful. How you make money is so secondary, but how you benefit the world, how you benefit yourself first and foremost, but then even better, the world around you becomes so much more important than how you make money. But at the same time, making money is important. So one of my questions for you was going to be your business model on your app. And this is, again, putting my entrepreneur hat on. On your app, you say that you don't charge the customer any fees.
The Anqites.
You charge Anqites.
No, we don't.
You don't. So who do you charge? How do you make your money? From
from Bitcoin.
You're not alone. There's quite a few Bored Apes and the CryptoPunks around here that are.
Yeah, it's a really nice collection, actually.
Yeah, let's see. Fingers crossed.
So like our whole aim with Anqa, it's been tough actually, because when I had this vision channeled to me, it was really clear about the movement towards decentralization. And this is at a time where I was not involved in crypto. I had no idea about that world. Like, this is in 2018 and 19. And in 2020, I started to really research. And that's when it was, we actually had a white paper, and we were going to launch an Anqa coin. And that's when the
ticker ANQA.
That's where the crash happened. So then we decided to focus on the utility value being the app. And in the app, we sell energy points, and with fiat. So you buy energy points, and with those points, you can book one-on-one services, retreats, workshops, and anywhere in the world, right? Similar to what ClassPass is doing with their point system. And that's kind of, a lot of people in the beginning was like, oh, just do what Airbnb is doing, take a commission from both sides, and it's easier, people understand it. This is a user journey friction point, and
sure,
it is. And you know, our next investment round is when people understand it, they get it and they're like, wow, I actually like this. But it's about educating them, right? So
do you have to get people on the blockchain world first before you can make?
No, actually, we don't. It's all through Anqa, so it stays in our platform for now.
So from the user perspective, they still just Apple Pay their way into it?
Yes, exactly. They're Apple Pay. Later on, we are planning to integrate, crypto blockchain, and what happens now is based on the point system that we have different packages. The more package, the bigger package the customer buys, the more value they get.
And the lower money Anqa makes.
Yes, exactly. And the lower package they get, we make more money. But our main goal right now is for everyone to buy the larger packages, and that's
so
part
they
of
can love the app.
That's part of our acquisition cost. Actually, if you buy the 100-point package,
it's like about 1,000 dirhams worth. Yeah.
And we actually make a loss, but it's part of our acquisition cost because we want you to buy more points, so there's more circulation in the app.
Retention.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's part of our plan. And then later on, our plan, we kind of put on hold the token that will then be brought in when we have about 10,000 users, and it will be used as a rewards system for gamification. So then they can get the token, and then they will be able to hold the tokens and then convert the tokens to later on to utilize on the app.
But the token as a way of loyalty, does that need to be a blockchain based?
I mean, if we want to do a DAO, which now we're questioning because of the DAO systems, we were planning to do the DAO like that. So it would be more of a like governance that the Anqites get. So for instance, if you had 100 bookings, you would also get 100 tokens, right, that they can stake or hold. And then later on, when we have like Anqa Nests, where, they can book studios, etc., they can use those tokens for that. For the physical spaces that we were planning to do.
All of that, I love as a concept. Does it require blockchain? As in, can you still do all of that without blockchain and coins and
we are doing that for the points now without the blockchain. But later on, if we want to be the issue we're having now, the reason why the whole decentralization topic is paying out people is still a pain.
It's still a pain.
Yeah.
Paying out people.
Yeah. So
when you give them the access to do it through a decentralized exchange.
Exactly. It's much easier, right? So, I mean, I'll tell you, one of the things that we faced was we did a lot of research to find out how Airbnb was paying out the hosts.
Western Union.
And they use Stripe.
And Stripe, yeah.
Yeah, the back end, the underlay that handles everything is actually Stripe.
Which is costly.
Very expensive, but it gets the job done, and they're secure platform. You can rely on them. So, I mean, they've built a reputation for them, right? And anytime you're starting something new, you want to be using, and when it involves money, you want to use a reputable company. So when we researched this, we said, we should use Stripe as well. And we integrated everything in our backend. Obviously, we developed the app on React as well. So we have pretty much 3 products.
JavaScript, React.
Free for iOS and then Android. And then we have the backend CMS as well. So we had like 3 products that we're managing. We decided not to do Flutter or React due to like security problems that we might face later on, being it's people's data and wellness, and the easiest things to hack is a cross-coded platform, and we want to expand globally fast, so we thought we would invest in the proper tech stack from the beginning, and this was the decision that was from my co-founder at the time as well.
Do you have one now with Anqa, or are you just the only founder?
So I have a co-founder. His name's Hassan Al-Noon.
Hassan Al-Noon. Yeah, he's your technical co-founder?
He's Emirati. However, I lost him to Botum.
Botum, the app? The calling app?
I lost him, yeah.
So you're by yourself now?
Yeah, pretty much. But I mean, he's still an advisor, and Hassan's a genius, one of the smartest people I know. I believe, was one of the young Emiratis that got, not young anymore, he's 40, but he had a scholarship, studied cryptography in Chicago, deep tech security. He was AI and robotics expert for the UAE. So obviously...
Digital 14?
Sorry?
Was he working with Digital 14?
I'm not too sure.
Okay.
But obviously he was asked to be made the CTO for Botum because, they have big plans for Botum to be the WeChat and the WhatsApp of the GCC and the security, which is great. Like great for us because we want to integrate the video conferencing of Botum, and they're doing incredible things to become a super app, and collaborating with startups and the CEO at the moment, Abdullah Al-Sheikhi, I believe his name is. He also was a founder of Rizek. So Rizek. Yeah. So genius guy as well, young, very ambitious and smart. So it's great because he was the one that really supported me in the beginning with this and believed in this, and he loves yoga, and he's been to Latin America, and he believes in wellness and biohacking, and he's vegan himself, very healthy, very conscious. So right now our main goals, I had to take and it was really good for me as well because I'm very involved with the tech. I'm involved with our development team, the product. As you said, the UI, UX, it was very much me mapping out and even getting involved. And I then learned everything, and I was on Figma, and I bloody love Figma, and I'm just designing everything, the colors.
Autodidactic, like self-learning.
Yeah.
So can I just say something first of all? And I'm not the type who would... I don't like to be the guy who gives more credit for women in tech because
Please do, we deserve it. It's tough.
No, of course you deserve it. I just don't think you are less I don't think women are less capable than men in being great tech co-founders, and that's what I mean. I have 3 sisters and a mother who are all superwomen in that they are mothers, career, professionally very successful. the point I was about to get at is that there's this whole narrative. Actually, kind of one of the questions I have for you is but let me give let me preface my question with the following. You seem to be one of the very few women in my network that seems to know quite a bit about blockchain, Web3, and you seem to know, like, you talk about tech, UI, UX, tech stack, JavaScript. That's not the kind of conversation you usually expect to hear from a woman, even in Dubai, one of the most progressive cities, and so on. And I never thought that this stuff is rocket science anyway. Like, it's not like, men are too smart to know it and women aren't. I was never of that opinion. But you are one of the unique women who speak about that stuff with a certain level of comfort and confidence that is quite impressive. And not because you're a woman, but because anybody that speaks about this stuff is impressive for me. Because, to know about tech, and build the startup and actually everything, not just the technical stuff, but the grit and the perseverance and the tenacity to launch a tech startup. Never mind that it's in a space that is already controversial, which is wellness and all these alternative methods, is all very impressive. So kudos to you. Hats off. I don't have a hat. I just have a bald head. But the question that I have for you here is, do you feel like, I've asked this question to a few of my other female guests, do you feel like you are at a disadvantage, or that there is some prejudice that slows you down because you're a woman in that space? Or do you feel like when you talk, as you are talking to me right now, you immediately prove that you know what the hell you're talking about?
I feel like this journey, I'm a control freak. I love learning, and I'm somebody who's very immersive. I want to know everything, and I get bored and move on to the next thing. So I was actually not a very good student at school, and I'm very hands-on in my learning, and for me it was like, if I am going to be the CEO of a movement, I need to know everything, right? And I'm constantly learning, and I feel like there's still so many things I need to learn about and dig deeper. So the learning journey never ends. I really appreciate your feedback, but there's still things that, at one point I was like, oh my God, I should learn how to code. And then I was like, oh, but the opportunity cost of me learning how to code right now, let me focus on this. But
so you don't need to learn how to code to know what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. And that's when I was like, you know what? I need to research, read books, understand what all of this means. Because for me, a good CEO is one who understands the business in all directions.
And puts the right people in the right seats.
Exactly, right? Because if you don't understand, like, I mean, working with developers was just like, what? Like, you have an iOS developer and an Android developer, and they don't speak the same language. Like, I'm not kidding you. I had this one incident where, you know how the app icon, when you put it on your phone, has this Anqa logo, this one here.
Right at the front end.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it baffles me. So on iOS, it's this size, right? And then I open the Android one.
Yeah.
Next to me, and it's like tiny.
Yeah.
And I tell them, guys, like,
how can it be different?
Why is this different? It's just a logo.
It's a mobile friendly design that adapts to the different phones.
And the developers are like, no, but it's the same size. Like, I can't remember what size it was. 3.5, whatever. Yeah. It's the same size. I'm like, I appreciate that you guys are doing the same size, but clearly
I need the outcome to be the same.
Like, like, just look at it.
This process is so broken, by the way. It's so painful to work. This agile methodology that kind of gives, I mean, I understand the importance of agile and all that, right? But the fact that when something goes from QA to production, or from QA to whatever, like, test it first. Like, you're a developer, but you're also a human being and a user. Before you push it to production, or even for me to QA it, check it. Does it make sense to you first? Not as a developer, not as just like, and it really annoys me, because I've started a tech startup myself.
Oh yeah. Teaches you patience, huh?
But no, I just don't. I really think that it's not that hard to to create a culture within your dev team and your QA team and UI, UX and your product and everybody that's collaborating on Trello. I don't know what's your...
We were using Trello, but now we've moved to Notion.
Okay.
Because Notion is, we can have our developers there, the marketing team there, social media. It's just easier one.
Either way, the workflow.
But then we use Basecamp as well for the development team.
Yeah. But either way, GitHub, I mean, there's a, even
GitHub we use for the store, for the code base.
Yeah. Or I mean, like even Slack. And so there's all this integration between Trello, Slack, and GitHub. And what I'm trying to say is that the culture of Agile as a product development workflow process that sort of, I think, pivots around prioritization of features, and sometimes you got to reprioritize. All that is good and fancy. But if you're somebody that is expected to develop a feature and write the code for it and push it to QA, and then QA checks it, and then QA pushes it to production, check it.
Yeah.
Don't
they just blindly do it.
Don't just push it for somebody else to check it. You check it first. If it makes sense to you, then send it for somebody to confirm that it works.
Yeah.
But for me to
I'm telling you, if they had something, if they had some mistake and that file, the Figma file, went in blue and not red because something happened to the file, they will literally do it in blue when they know that the whole app is supposed to be red and white and gray, and that's the colors, or one thing that happened was, our developers are in India, most of them are women as well, which is why I work with this company, and obviously when we were integrating the API for Google Maps, we just had constant issues here. We were testing. They said that the app was perfect when they were testing it. But then obviously when we're real-time testing it here, we had so many issues with location. It's coming up in Egypt. You're saying you're here, it's in Egypt or somewhere else. And I was like, guys,
it could have gone by the testing.
They said, oh, but this does not count because we did our part of the testing and we can't test because we're not physically in Dubai, so we can't do that testing. You need to do that testing. So literally, I was the one that figured out that I was like, guys, I think Google Maps may not work here because it's in Arabic. There's Arabic characters.
But that's not your job, by the way, to find out.
And they were like, oh, yeah, we didn't try that.
It's so annoying.
And you're like, oh my God, imagine how many things they're missing here.
And it's just you know what? Honestly, I get there's Agile and maybe some textbook rules and jurisdictions and what have you. But no, Agile is not meant to be that you do your, so this is not a production line where you push it if everything is checking the box based on some textbook, if everybody's invested in making sure the feature is deployed as quickly and as accurately as done, then it can be done 3-4 times faster. And that's why I have to admit that I'm sure with all the challenges that you've been going through, and I don't know how long you've been working on Anqa. How long have you been working on Anqa for?
So I started the first time it came to me was in 2020. Okay. The idea, when the channeling happened, which was in Feb. And then a year later, I started working with, we had the ideas and we started working on it. And we registered the company end of 2021, 11th of 11th, 2021. But then we launched the community on the 22nd of Feb, 2022. So a year after. And so it's been 2 years since I can say we officially launched the community of Anqa.
Development began when?
So the first development company screwed us over.
Fair enough. Always classic.
Yeah, it happens.
It happens, yeah.
Which is the best learning because, we actually did all the wireframe and sat down with Hassan and went through everything. And then we invested in this company and then they came back and they said, first we need to finalize all the designs. And then we realized that they just gave us a white label. And because we were so confident in our mapping and everything, we automatically identified, but they wasted so much of our time and our money. We said, you know what, I'm going to start over again. And that's when I was like, going to do the designs. And I sat with myself, with my graphic designer, and we started playing. And for me, it was more
it's
like
a cool part of the journey.
I loved it. Yeah. Honestly, the whole creation part. And you know, I think the hardest part about being a tech founder, being someone who's worked in product and merchandising and retail, is that you work so much on the technology and the UI, the UX, and it's taken us, imagine, just recently, in the last 4 months, we launched the app, and then you're making a booking and you're just like, wow, like finally. Yeah. And I think that is the hardest part about motivating yourself.
Yeah, it's so gratifying.
Because you don't see the results immediately. Yeah. Right? It's a lot of work. It's a lot of grinding before it even gets to the market. And even then there's all these issues that you need to sort through, and it just 100%. Doesn't end.
Yeah.
But I think the most beautiful part is like, you know, now that I'm being part of like when I'm networking and I'm out and somebody's talking about, you know, meditation and all that. And then somebody's like, oh, have you heard of the app Anqa? And I was like, oh, really? Where did you hear about Anqa? And, oh, my friend's on there, you know, you should download it. And I'm just like, oh.
I know the feeling. I've experienced it.
Like, oh my God,
I must admit,
I don't even say like, you know, that I'm the founder. I don't even want to get into that. It was just like, it just makes my heart full and warm.
Yeah. And there's nothing better in life than to have that sense of gratification, whether it's at a one-on-one coaching level and having, I don't know, hear someone say, Rosa is a great coach, and you hear it like bypassing a coffee shop, or like I have a company called Kyo Collective, which is kind of went viral without us meaning to, but then people started reaching out to us, and again, it's gratifying in some ways. Same thing with Call Out that started before. I think that scale is overrated. Scale is good because scale means you help more people, you make more money potentially, but the most gratifying thing is when you can really experience appreciation from, especially as in close proximity to that person that is appreciating it, and even better if it's like so genuine that they don't know who you are and you kind of hear it, like you're not eavesdropping deliberately, but like you kind of hear it without, you know, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, it really is. And like, you know, hearing people getting bookings and saying like, that person changed my life.
My friend who told me about your app is actually signing up to be an Anqa himself.
Oh, and you know, and he heard about from Bali, and it's just, you know, it's just beautiful because like our goal was just to launch the app here, right? And to test the market because, you know, yes, Dubai is not our target market, but it's a great testing market, and it's great PR because everyone's an expat. They go back to their homes and they talk about you, right? Yeah. But the crazy thing is we've had downloads from 20 plus countries, and we're not even activated Twilio in certain countries. So then that's making us feel like, whoa, like we need a team. Like
where are you with your fundraising?
So we just announced a $2.2 million raise, and we had a VC.
You're raising 2.2?
Yes, we're raising 2.2 million. And we're speaking with now 3 VCs, and we're almost like...
Are you able to disclose their names or?
No, I won't be able to. Okay. Yeah. But an angel investor as well. So we have one angel investor that's confirmed and locked in, and we've raised before as well. This is we did a family of friends raise before, which was about
safe agreement for equity.
Safe agreement, and we'll convert that Series A. Yeah. And and like I'm also like very selective. Like I've had very bad experiences when it came to this, and like obviously I sometimes ask myself like, you know, yes, Anqa's my baby, but at the end of the day I need to do what's right for the people, because the Anqites and the community, it's my responsibility to represent them. And I'm a true believer that money is energy, right? And what intention it's coming, because we are trying to create a global movement in empowering people and doing something, disrupting a whole market. And I feel like
and there's nothing even out there that's like that, right?
No, like, I mean, there are some like...
There are marketplaces for different things, but nothing like Anqa.
Yeah, nothing like Anqa, where two people can be moving and working from anywhere, in the sense where, for instance, you know, you say I'm in Australia and I'm a yoga teacher, say for instance, and I want to do yoga in Bali. And Anqa can post the dates I'll be in Bali, but then from there I'm going to go to Dubai. I can mention the dates I'm in Dubai and Ibiza and Tulum, whatever. And then say you're going to Ibiza of all places and you want to do yoga and those days. And you see me. I'm not even there. You're not even there yet. Right? So you can actually book one-on-one sessions while you're there. And I know that even before I go there, I'm going to be able to earn money whilst traveling and doing what I love.
Yeah.
Right? So it's really exciting.
Before you go to Pasha and pop some pills in. Yeah.
Hey, like, you know. Oh, God.
Wellness in all its forms.
Hey, we don't judge at Anqa. It's all about oneness, you know, like everybody's journeys to themselves.
Sure,
you know, what we say is Anqa, like being a phoenix, a bird, like we have Anqa's a nest.
Yeah.
So it's the safe zone. Yeah. It's like, you know, no matter what you're going through in life, if it's you're alcoholic and you hit someone and you're regretting that you did that, you can't control, and you come to Anqa to find someone we are not going to judge. You're clearly there for help, right? And I think this is the toughest part, and this is where we're different. So when it comes to vetting healers and therapists, one thing that I look at and I ask is, why do you do what you do? Right? And to me, it's what was their near-death experience? What happened in their life that made them become a coach, that made them do what they're doing to help others? And that's why, like, Anqa's not about having these healers that are famous, that are popular. No, for me, it's more about, like, you know, we have one customer that, you know, she really struggled losing weight. And she's been to dietitian, gym, and, you know, she's unable to lose weight. And we know one fitness instructor, and she's like a nutritionist and gut health and everything. And she also suffered something similar, right? And that made her change her whole life and everything. She couldn't lose weight and all that. And then she realized that it was one, energy, right? Emotions. And also, like, from the mold in the apartment that she was living in, the inside the body, right? So that was the reason. And because she was able to empathize with her, like, if she came to me and I said, don't worry, babe, you'll lose weight, she'll ask me, like, did you suffer from this, Rosa? Were you ever overweight? And when I say, oh, you know, no, she's not gonna take me seriously. But when the trainer tells her, look, this is my photos, this is what happened to me, I feel you, I understand the frustration. That relatability is there, right? And this is exactly what we want to do. And in the later editions, we want to incorporate AI to do those proper matches, right? So what is that relatability? Right? More than anything else.
That's how it's the whole conversation. Actually, that's how I discovered Anqa, because I was talking about how there should be a marketplace about connecting humans with humans, regardless of their certification, their specialization. Conversations between humans that have a high degree of relatability. And relatability is relative, because you know, you and I could be I could seek you out as a thought partner because you're relatable, because you've been there, done that, because we come from the same background, because we share the same belief system. For somebody else, it could be the total opposite. Whether you are a certified life coach or a psychiatrist, psychologist, this matters less. In my opinion, from my own experience, some of the best conversations that have made me move forward in my life have been with the most relatable people, and it had less to do with their certification and more to do with their relatability. Again, relatability meant different things in different contexts. So I'm a big fan of this concept for matchmaking. I think certification is overrated.
Yeah.
I don't want to take away from anybody that's put in time and effort to get a certificate, but I do think that being a good listener, let me rephrase that. Being able to have a similar style of communication to the person you're speaking to, especially if you're not adapting, because that's also good if you can adapt, but even better if you are naturally the degree of interjection, the amount of challenging that you would, bring to the conversation versus just listening. And like relatability can mean so many things in the context of a conversation, but a good conversation is, you can't put a price tag on a good conversation.
Yeah.
And I think a good conversation that can be with your best friend, with your parent, with your therapist, with your coach, comes down to relatability.
Yeah.
And I think there's something there that is
definitely I mean, one of our ambassadors, Rami Nus, I don't know if you've heard of him, Let's Live, and he's a leukemia cancer survivor, right? And he used to be an illusionist, magician, and he would love making people laugh, and then he was diagnosed with cancer, and then he got into the thing of mind over matter, and he was able to win his cancer, and he broke a world record standing on the sadhu board, the nail board, for 12 hours and 12 minutes.
Wow.
And I believe 2 weekends ago he ran 105 kilometers under 12 hours barefoot, and he's an example. He really walks the talk, and he's one of the ambassadors. So it's if somebody God forbid, but it can happen, is suffering from cancer and they're depressed, instead of sending them to a psychologist, it's you get an appointment with Rami. Rami knows what's going through their head. Rami's been through it.
Relatable experience.
Exactly. And this is exactly what we differentiate ourselves at Anqa. This is what we really want to push on. And for me, it was really the horses. So, coming back to my treatment, the doctor, when I got my results, they said that it was benign, but due to my family history, it can change at any time.
By the way, thank God I just found out it was benign. I didn't ask too much, but that's...
No, and that's the journey. Once I started, and the placebo effect you were talking about, that I genuinely believe that. And Dr. Joe Dispenza is somebody I absolutely love, and he was
neuroplasticity,
and he had a accident on a bicycle, and they told him that he can't walk, and metaphysics and the meditations. If you can believe and feel that that's your reality, you can heal yourself from anything. And he talks about how he was visualizing his vertebrae being rebuilt, and then he was able to walk. So I truly believe that we create our own reality, and at some point you need that guidance, you need the people around you. And yes, of course medicine is still there. I also had to change certain things in my life, and there is a point where you need to take certain medicine, but ideally your energy and your vibe is, if you can, and that's one of the reasons why I stopped drinking alcohol, because the vibration, when I got into understanding physics and vibrations and energy, animals have a higher frequency, horses and dolphins have the highest frequency.
They're very emotionally intelligent,
right? So that's why naturally when we're around them we feel good. It's because our energies are where it's synchronizing. So and I started writing a lot, when I quit my job, and then I really got into the racing sport of endurance. And a lot of people said to me oh, you're in your 30s, and I always wanted a horse growing up as a kid, and it was too hard in Australia, and I thought, oh, Dubai, there's so many horses everywhere. And, I quit my job, and, obviously horse riding is an expensive sport. And I truly believe in manifestation. So then I did a private race, and then one of the trainers who at that time was onboarding Sheikh Mohammed's school was onboarding women to do endurance racing. So I was accepted. So I did my qualifications in endurance racing in Al-Asfa school with Sheikh Mohammed. And then when I finished there, I was racing for Sheikh Hamdan Nadal Sheba stables. And I came second in one of the 101 kilometer races.
Hey.
And it was crazy because, you know, everybody said to me that I won't be able to do it. And I started racing young, and people ride professionally at a young age. And to me, I truly believe that you can do anything you believe in. And the second challenge was like, I was gifted Phoenix, my horse, from His Highness Sheikh Hamdan. So he was given to me at 5 years old, and he was unridden, wild, very wild, and he didn't trust humans. So obviously he was born and raised and in a paddock full of horses, and then after COVID they didn't have enough trainers to train young horses, because it's like having a puppy or a trained dog, right? It's a whole different ball game. And they're horse. It's not like a dog. You put a muzzle on them and you can carry them, you know. And he tested me a lot. So he was a mirror to me. And then I realized, like, the more I was riding and into all of these practices, the doctor said to me, "Oh, your tumor's reducing in size."
Wow.
Yeah. And then what are you doing? And I'm like, honestly, I'm just riding a lot. And then I realized,
that's
like,
fascinating.
There's no science-backed proof about this,
but clearly there's something working there.
You know, I did some research on this, and like you know, we have a chakra system, right? Or energy.
7 chakras.
Yeah, right. And actually, like us women, if you realize, we're always crossing our legs, right? You guys are sitting like this, like
sure,
right?
Yeah.
But us women, we're always like this. It's almost like subconsciously where this is blocking the yin flow.
Yeah.
Right? And it's because of pretty much all that shame and guilt that we've been holding on from ancestry.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And when you're riding a horse,
you just open up.
You open up. And you know, our root chakra is sitting literally on top of the solar plexus of the horse, which is where we get power, courage, trust, you know, and every time I would ride a horse, I would feel reborn. And
some energy flow with trust is flowing. It's flowing through.
And they're so connected to Mother Nature. The energy goes into
it's
earth.
Amazing. There's
and then
definitely
flows.
Some hypothetical truth to it.
I'm going to one day when I have time, I'm going to do like proper, like, science-backed proof of this.
Listen,
like,
I'll tell you something. Even the most, like, here's the most scientific thing you'll find around in the world, which is epidemiology. And what they'll do is grab a sample of humans and say, here are, I don't know, some group of humans who have smoked or drank or whatever. And now let's look at their longevity. And now we've established that 70% of, if you're drinking alcohol 3 times a week, then 70% chance you're going to die by the age of 70. It's also like not really scientific. It's just like they throw data in there and some statistics, and that's why you always have these things that are contradicting, which is like eggs are good for you, eggs are bad for you, or a little bit of alcohol is good for you because it's antioxidants, especially if it's wine or beer. But then no alcohol whatsoever is better. Like, it's bullshit. At the end of the day, if it works, it works. That's why I'm a big fan of don't like. You know, I've given this too much thought, and I've had a lot of guests on, and I went from being an extreme pessimist to somewhere in the middle, and I'm leaning more and more, especially that I am on my own transformation journey from being an addict in many ways. I drink a lot, I medicate, you know, and then I'm, you know, moving away from all these negative habits to more positive habits. So I kind of understand the importance of believing in things like breath work, which I do.
Breath work is amazing.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Like as a dopamine junkie that I am, doing my breath work, which will activate dopamine in me, like especially the martial art breathing, which I was telling you about earlier, which was a 45-minute like workout. You know, I finished my breath work feeling starving. It's not like a Wim Hof. It's in a derivative of it. It's actually his brother. With the Wim Hof breathing is great, but it's just not as intense. The Marcel Hof breath work will leave you starving afterwards. And the positive, I mean, if you've ever asked somebody who smoked a joint about a creative business idea, they're like going on GoDaddy and buying the URL for that website because they're so excited about that new business idea, because this is the kind of thing that weed does when you smoke it. But breath work, done right, will activate dopamine 100%. And excitement and motivation 10 times more. Like, and in a good way too, because you still have your sanity in place, as opposed to like a strong joint of whatever sativa you're smoking at the time. So I really admire what you're doing, both as an entrepreneur. I will not say because you are a woman, because for me, I don't want to, I feel like part of empowering women is not to highlight that they're women. I think part of the issue is that every time a woman does something well, we go like, hey, she's a woman and an entrepreneur. Yeah, we understand that they are underrepresented, but let's not like give them like, let's not clap harder because they're women. Like, it doesn't serve the purpose. You are an incredibly smart hustler who is onto something, and kudos for that.
Thanks,
right? You happen to be a woman as well, and it's not easy in a world that is a patriarchy. So that is to be recognized. But I think the sooner we just like appreciate incredible humans doing incredible things like you are, the better it is, in my opinion. And so Rosa Aygun, I want to make sure I pronounce this correctly.
It means moon day in Turkish.
It means what, sorry, again?
Ay means moon and Gün means the day, like the so moon and the day.
Before I wrap up the episode, is there anything else you want to add?
No, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming on.
And I'm really excited to hear about your next session.
Please follow the podcast. It's everywhere you catch your podcast: YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and Rami, wherever you watch your podcast. Our episode will be up in a week or so.
I would like to nominate someone for your next podcast.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Rami.
Okay, who's Rami?
Rami Nus. So my friend that I was telling you about, he's a cancer survivor.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And he's world record holder in the Satu board. And I think it's very inspiring.
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
Entrepreneur as well now, and
100%. Consider it done.
Yeah, amazing.
After we're done recording, in a few minutes, please do the intro. And for anybody that is like myself, like most of us, especially those of us who live in Dubai and high octane cities, who have been workaholics, alcoholics, just very easily gravitating towards negative coping habits. Anqa is a great app.
Thank you.
A ton of very genuine service providers and Anqites, as they're actually called, are there to help you with yoga, meditation, sound healing, alternative medicine, if nothing else, just a positive human connection. I think there's the best way to describe it, in my opinion. And Rosa, you're an incredible founder. Thank you so much for coming on the show. More power to you. If there's anything I can do to help you with your startup's growth, please, outside of the context of the podcast, do let me know.
I'm
pretty well connected in the city, and I have some entrepreneur experience, so reach out anytime, and I hope I can be
I'm looking for a new tech lead CTO, so
it's one area, by the way, that happens to be the most difficult,
world.
Right? But to the extent that I can help, I will. I could give you some leads, but and alternative solutions to that traditional, because I know how sometimes it feels like a mandatory thing to have a technical co-founder, and it usually is, but it's not. There are ways around it. So, but
I'm all ears.
I tell you what, considering me like I'm not gonna claim to be a mentor. Just like, reach out to me anytime you need help.
Thank you, dear.
And I wish you all the best and success. And thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you. And I hope to see you at our community events as well. And
when's the next one?
So we're doing Ramadan Eid on the 31st of March, next Sunday.
31st of March,
and it'll be at the stables. And we'll be doing like an iftar. We're bringing Sufi artists from Turkey.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's going to be beautiful.
If I bring Vito, will he rally up the horses, or?
I mean, he's quite well behaved. You can bring him to the stables.
If he creates a mess,
you can just hold him,
because he still has his man, he's got his balls still, so he might aggravate some male animals around.
I think he just farted, actually.
Oh shit, Vito. Well, that's one way to end an episode. I'm sorry. That was actually me, by the way. No, I'm joking. It's not me. It's not me.
Hey.
But the best part is if I ever do fart, I can always blame it on Vito. All right. Well, Rosa,
so cute.
Aygun, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, dear. And thank you for doing this for us, for everyone, and giving.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah.
Anqa.app. Is this how?
So it's
Anqa.io. Sorry. Yeah. Anqa.io. And on Instagram, you just type Anqa.app. You'll find it there. I highly recommend it to anybody listening and watching. And with that, thank you so much. That's a wrap.